So if it's a lost sale, is it really a lost sale? Welcome to the most misunderstood term in the car business. Hi everybody, welcome to the DCSI Parts Guys. We're presented by Dealership CSI. We're powered by ESPM. And today we're going to start on a journey to discuss the lost sale. The lost sale being the most misunderstood term in the car business. We'll hopefully clear it up a little bit, give you some ideas on why it's so important, and kind of move on from there. I'm Rick, all the way from Pewaukee. We've got Jerry. How you doing today, Jer?
Doing real good, Rick. Looking forward to this subject, obviously. The lost sale, it's gotten quite a bad name in the industry some places, and like you said, it's the most misunderstood term we use in our inventory management, and hopefully we can clear up a little bit of that for you and show you the importance and how to go about doing something with that information.
So, Jer, you've probably done this same thing, but I've been in seminars before where I stood up 20 different parts managers and asked every one of them to tell me their definition of a lost sale. I got 20 different answers and none of them were correct. Why do you think that is, Jer?
Well, there's a lot of people that talk about lost sales, and I think there's been some bad information over the years. People don't necessarily understand what it's all about, and don't understand the importance and what it has to do with the actual stocking of your inventory. So we're going to clear some of that up for them and show them some examples of why it's so important and what effect it really has on the phase in and phase out of part numbers.
Well, one of the things that I've found most important, Jer, is to basically drop that term lost sale. Everybody thinks, well, he wouldn't have bought it anyway, so it wasn't going to be a sale. I actually had a dealer principal one time tell the parts manager, if you ever lose that many sales again, you're out of here. Complete confusion on this deal. I prefer to call it a report of a broken part. And that's really what happens when somebody calls, says, do you have one of these? They've got a broken part in their hand. And all they're doing is telling us, I got a broken part. Put it into your system, forget about it, and one day it may become important. So what are some of the other fears that some of these parts managers have, Jer, about stock coming in and being able to get overwhelmed with parts coming in if I post too many lost sales?
Well, a lot of it, Rick, is related to not understanding, again, the whole principle behind the lost sale and what it does for their system. They're afraid they're going to have too many parts phasing in, showing up on the stock order, and then they got to spend all kinds of time taking them off the stock order. They sometimes think that we shouldn't post lost sales on collision parts because I don't want to stock collision parts. They sometimes think they make a judgment on all the parts requests. Instead of determining that it's just a report of a broken part, they're trying to rationalize in their head as to whether or not it's something they want to stock and determine whether or not I should post a lost sale.
And that's the thing, that we want to treat every part the same way. And if you look at the task that a parts manager has in front of them, virtually every parts manager has this list of 800,000 different part numbers the manufacturer supplies. I mean, it's a huge list. And from that, the parts manager may end up stocking 1,000 to 3,000 part numbers in their building. But the question is, how do you pull them off of that list and get the ones in the store that are going to sell again and again? So we have to test part numbers. We have to test every single part number that comes into the system. And like you said, Jer, I don't care if it's a collision part, if it's a t-shirt, or if it's a coffee mug. We want to get that information into the system. Because when we start to do exclusions, what happens with the counter people and their idea of when you post and when you don't post?
Everybody has a different idea of which ones they should be posting on, so we're missing that information that the system needs to make the proper decision on what parts should phase in and phase out. So you just got to look at it. The simple way I like to look at it is there's really only three things you can do. When somebody requests a part, you either sell them the part, order the part for him, or post that lost sale. It's that simple. You know, it boils it right down. Doesn't matter what the part is. Doesn't matter whether the guy, you think he's asking for a price or if he actually needs it or not. He's probably asking for a price on a part that he needs, or he wouldn't be calling you up in the first place.
Well, and that's the thing. We want to have a hard and fast rule, and the one you just described, Jerry, is as simple as it gets. Either you do it, you sell it, you order it, or you post a lost sale. Done deal. And I don't care what the part is. And once that information's in the system, it filters back to the parts manager in the form of a phase-in or a stock order request, and the parts manager has full control whether they want to buy it or not. And that's where the other fear, like we were talking about, I had guys tell me, well, you know, if I post lost sales, one day this big semi is going to come in and drop a whole load of parts at my doorstep. But it doesn't work that way. So, Jared, let's take a look at how the whole formula plays out and how important that lost sale is in that formula. So if we take a look at demands and we talk about total demand posting, a demand is either a sale or a lost sale. We're looking at the typical 3 and 12 phase-in formula here. So 1 month of demand, if I buy the part now, I've got about a 35% chance that it's going to sell again. Probably not where I want to buy this part. So I just let the system hang on to that information. This probably came from a lost sale. Somebody called, says, I got a broken part in my hand. I told the computer about it, and we move on. Now, all of a sudden, 3 months down the road, somebody else calls, says, hey, I got this broken part in my hand. Do you have one? No, I don't. Do you want to order it? Gee, I don't know. I'll let you know. Well, now, if I brought that part into the inventory at 2 in 12, I got about a 60% chance of profitability. Still not where I want to be. So I'm going to leave the information in the system. I don't have to remember it. The system will remember it. And then I'm waiting for more activity. And what I'm waiting for is that third demand. 3 months of demand in 12. Now, Jerry, if you look at this, we've got 1 month, or one piece, and then 2 pieces, and then 1 piece. That 2-piece demand is just 1 month of demand, and that's all we care about. Because when I get that 3 separate months of demand in 12, I've got a 95% chance that that part's going to be profitable. And that's the time that I want to jump on that and buy that part and put it on the shelf. So here's how it plays out. If it happens 1 time, it's just a random event. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. But if it happens 3 times, it signifies a trend. And the trend is this part is trending to become a high failure rate part. So if I'm a parts manager and I'm looking at this list of 700,000 or 800,000 part numbers, deciding what I should stock, if I had these part numbers that jumped out and said, hey, I'm going to be a high failure rate part, why wouldn't I stock it? And because this is all about statistics and probabilities, whether I post the lost sale or not, the part still is going to become a high failure rate part if it's trending that way. I just need to catch it on my system, and I need to be able to take a look when that happens and get early action on that part, get it in my system. So, Jer, when I'm looking at a stock order, where are these parts going to show up?
Well, they're going to show up on a phase-in report, obviously, once they reach that level of phase-in activity. And I think what you just talked about, Rick, is a very important point. It doesn't matter. All your systems are set up to phase parts in based upon months of demand. It's not just that you went and posted a lost sale today, a lost sale tomorrow, and all of a sudden the part's going to appear on your stock order. We're tracking by months of demand, and that's what we're trying to do. And it goes back to our previous segment, Rick, the power of yes. So when we're tracking the failure rate on these parts, when we're going to determine that there's a high failure rate part, That's when we want it to appear on that stock order on that phase-in report, which says, hey, you've now got enough activity that this is going to be a high failure rate part, and you probably need to think about putting it into your inventory.
So, Jer, I've talked to a lot of guys, and in fact, some manufacturer programs operate this way, and that is they believe that the lost sale shouldn't count as 100%. I'm just going to count it like half. Some of these manufacturer programs don't even count lost sales, and many parts managers don't. What's the story on a lost sale being half value of a demand, Jer?
Well, I don't think there is anything or should be anything that's half value, okay? It was a request for a part, and that's how we're tracking that failure rate again. Once somebody makes that request by either calling up, showing at the counter, technician walking up, whatever it is, we want to track that, and that's a whole demand. It's one demand, it's 1 month of demand. If it occurs 3 times in the same month, doesn't matter, we're tracking it by months.
So those demands are what we want to track, and that's what's going to show up on our system. And so when we're making these decisions, we don't want to go back into the history and say, well, that was a lost sale, so I'm going to give it another chance to get another demand. We need to jump on it because we're looking for parts that are trending to become high failure rate parts. So, Jer, our next session of the lost sale, we're going to talk about how to post a lost sale. Funny thing that I've discovered being around dealers going in and out and talking a lot about lost sales, not everybody in the store knows how to post a lost sale, and that becomes a real problem. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. Hope you got a little something out of this lost sale conversation. We got a lot more to come. Jer, I want to thank you for being with us from Pewaukee, and hope we're able to get a few more of these under our belt here pretty quick.
Rick, it was a pleasure as always, and we're going to show you some good examples in the next episode about how to post lost sales, because as you mentioned, some people really don't know how, and it can be done from different screens on your DMS system. So we'll show you some of that information, and hopefully it'll help you improve your tracking of failure rates on parts.
Well, thank you, Jer, and thank you all again. Please subscribe to our channel if you like us. Give us some likes, some comments, and share this around with your friends. Meantime, let's go make some money.